What is going on, guys? NealGuides here. Welcome back to another video. Now, this would be my tactics and instructions for the 4-2-3-1, 4-4-2, 5-2-1-2, and potentially also a progressive tactic for the 4-2-3-1, defensive and ultra defensive and attacking formation for all stages of the game. Now, just to be very precise, by the time you're watching this, I'm probably streaming on twitch.tv/NealGuides. I'm playing with a 10k team. This team, I purchased it. It costs about 10k. Obviously now the prices are a bit higher, so players have gone up. Obviously you don't count the chemistry styles, but and you go on Footbin, you type this. If you watch this on Monday and you type this on Footbin, you'll probably see this costs 10k. But the reason it's not like I'm showing off. It's just the reason why I'm showing you these tactics is this is specifically for this team. So you might see some differences, some variations. So I'll kind of walk you through each one. So we got as I said, the balance tactic we never use. This is just for chemistry purposes. We're not cherry picking no opponents when we do the 10k team challenge and stuff like that. We just if we get an away game, that's whatever. We don't cherry pick games. So we've gone with balance just in case our opponent is kicking off. So that way we can just be overly defensive so we don't get done on the kickoff. So that formation is only used, this whole tactic should I say is only used for the first minute of the game. Just prevent kickoff. Then we have 4 tactics. Now these are all the viable tactics. Now this is one that you've not seen before. This is an ultra defensive. This is to counter your opponent if he's parking a bus. So this is a formation if your opponent is winning. For some reason, most people who are still losing, they still park the bus. So this is kind of like a counter formation for those that are parking the bus. And there's also like a counter team press, which I'll get onto in a second. I'm still working behind the scenes, so a video on that will come out shortly as well. We have the 4-2-3-1 defensive. This is probably going to be the most recent tactic that you've seen. I'll go over that as well. That's the video that I just released a couple of days back. If you've not checked that video out, go on my channel, check the 4-2-3-1 post-patch, recent one that I uploaded just a couple of days ago. We then have an advanced 4-2-3-1, which is the long ball variation. This is one you may have seen already as well. This is a combination of my old 4-2-3-1 and the one I got released recently. This is just a more attacking one, but I'll get onto that as well. Then we have the classic NealGuides 5-2-1-2. As I said, this is one of the most OP formations in the game, and this is used to beat people who are parking a bus. So if I can't beat someone, I'll use the ultra attacking 5-2-1-2. This is as a note, I mainly use this formation and this formation. Rarely I would use this one, and extremely rarely, maybe 10% of the time, I'll use this formation. But without further ado, let's get into it. So the 5-2-1-2, I'll be honest, if you haven't seen the 5-2-1-2 video, go on my channel, type in the 5-2-1-2 video. I explain everything and why this formation breaks park the bus. You guys probably noticed the wing backs when they go forward, they're basically unmarked. It's just part of the game. Until EA fixes it, it will always be a broken formation. The tactics and instructions are basically the same. Nothing's really changed. The only thing we've changed though is just the tactics a bit. We've just increased the width a bit more, and that is about it. Everything else is exactly the same. The reason we increased the width a bit more is just that I ideally originally wanted a bit more control. And because it's a very cheap team, it's better just to have the initial width, just a bit easier to control, and that's it. So if you haven't seen the 5-2-1-2 video, check that out. It's the exact same tactics and instructions. Now, this is going over to attacking one. Now this is a mix. This is an attacking 4-2-3-1 that you've probably seen before in my old videos, but it's kind of a mixture. You've probably seen a depth on 3. I've put this deliberately to 4 because this is my attacking formation. This is a formation that I go into if I want to take the game to my opponent. Let's say, for example, I'm losing 1-0, or let's say it's 0-0 at 60 minutes and I cannot score. This would be a formation I use long ball. As usual, I want every single one of my camps, I want them darting forward, making runs in behind. So that's why we've gone with long ball. As usual, you guys probably know that. Even I use long ball sometimes. For width, I want them to be close but not too far in attack. And loads of players in the box. This is quite rare that you see this. I normally do this, like something on the lines of this probably. Or maybe even 4. But the reason we're going with 6 is this is just an attacking formation. So we just want everyone darting inside the box. This is kind of like a do or die. Either make a change now or you're done, basically. In terms of instructions, we've got stay forward, stay central on the striker. The reason why we have conservative on him is solely because Ben Yedder's got bad stamina, so that's the reason why. We've got the central cam on balance, come back on offense, just like my new video. And then the rest is all stay back while attacking, cut passing lanes, cover center. So it's very similar to my most recent video that I uploaded very recently. It's exactly the same, actually, to be honest. It's the exact same. The only thing that's different is maybe just the players in the box, but I think everything else is pretty much the same. Then we have a defensive 4-2-3-1. Now this one, we go back with the width by 1. This is a formation we're going to use most of the game, so we don't need to be overly attacking. Let's say the game is just starting, we're trying to fill the opponent out. This would be a formation we've gone with balance to 4-4, not too aggressive. We've gone with balance. Now the most important thing for me, now this is important. If you're copying these tactics, unless you're above gold 1, I would say, well, you can leave this unbalanced actually. It's up to you. But the reason why I like this unbalanced is I know how to control my players. If you're the kind of person that knows how to use L1 or LB triggers to push players making runs in behind, and you know RB, R1 to call players coming close, then if you know that, then leave it unbalanced. If you don't, leave it on long ball. The reason why is I just want two different styles. So let's say, for example, my opponent is kind of counteracting me. I can't use long balls. Then I would change to this one, which is just basically balanced. So they're basically the exact same formation with just some small minor changes. What we have changed, however, is we've got the striker and stay forward, stay central, usual. The cams don't come back on defense. We don't have conservative interceptions. If you are going to use this, use conservative interceptions, as I mentioned in my last video. I don't have him on conservative because I just want him to be a bit more aggressive in midfield. But if you're watching this, I'd recommend conservative. The reason why I don't use conservative is because I know the right time to switch to the cam, if that makes sense. So I know this is also the anti-team press formation as well. Remember I was talking about the anti-team press formation? So I know, for example, when to bring this player close. So I don't really need conservative interceptions because with conservative, he doesn't really press that much. He stays and occupies a good position when he's defending. So when you do get the ball back, you'll be close by. But because I can press RB or R1, I can control it manually. And the rest is the exact same thing. Now, with the wide cams, you can put free roam if you want. I'll make a video on why I use free roam after. But if you want, you can put free roam, but I left them on balance. And I put them on comeback and defense. So this is basically a more conservative defensive formation. This will be a formation that I'll use most of the time. Cut passing lane, stay back while attacking, cover center. They're exactly the same. Now, if I was going to use a 4-4-2, as I mentioned about the 4-4-2, I wouldn't use it with this team because this team's just not good enough. The only thing I would do, honestly, in a 4-4-2 is I have everyone, I'll have these guys on cut passing lane, stay back while attacking. And the only change that I would make is I'll put these guys on come back on defense and stay wide. Just because you want them to be wide as possible. And this is kind of going back to my old 4-2-3-1. Have one guy, I'll have both of them on come back in defense actually, even though they're not going to come back in defense. The most important thing is you have one guy on false 9, that's it. In terms of the actual tactics, I'd probably leave it the exact same, so I wouldn't change anything. That's the exact same thing I'll play 4-4-2. That's just the bonus peak if you're one the 4-4-2, but I need to make a video on that post-patch as well. I'm still testing that as well. Now this is something new that you've probably not seen before. This is a formation that if I'm winning 1-0, and let's say I don't need to advance anymore. This is a situation you might find yourself a lot. Maybe you don't notice, but a lot of people when they're winning, they actually park the bus. I don't know if you've probably seen this a lot. You might be winning, you know, like, I don't know, 3-1 or even 2-1. And your opponent, when you have the ball outside the box, he's still parking the bus. So I thought, instead of making a formation that's defensive, why not have an attacking formation which can prevent my opponent from parking the bus? So the idea is here, we want to exploit, because when you're wasting time, what people don't understand is when you want to waste time, you want to waste time in this yellow zone here. Never waste time in your own half, because if your opponent wins the ball here, then you can go straight towards goal. Whereas at least if you lose the ball outside your box, you've got time with your strikers to run back and you have your CDMs and your 4 centre backs in place, or 4 defenders to recover. So that's the kind of design of this formation. So we've gone with balanced width, we put it on 3. So this is a bit more narrow. Again, we're playing 700 coin players in centre back. You know, Yedlin, Van Aanholt, Tierney and Haps all cost 700 coins. But the most important thing is they're fullbacks. So I can always drag out, so if someone has a through ball down the wing, I can always drag out one of my left back and right backs to meet that. But yeah, so we're just going with a width with 3. We want to be a bit more compact as well, because when we're closing out the game, we want to be just a bit more compact and also to be more stable on the counter attack so we don't get the through balls down the middle. Depth, now the depth we've gone with 3. Again, you don't want to be too overly. The biggest mistake I see in an ultra defensive formation is you put this on 3 or 1. I mean 2 or 1 should I say. I wouldn't recommend this because you don't want to be pressed. See, look, if you have a 1 depth, right, you're going to be secluded in your half. And if you're losing, let's say for example you're winning, even if you're winning, if your opponent's got a 4-4-2, that's it, you're done. You're going to be stuck in your own half. You don't want that. You want to be just a bit more forward, because then you're going to give your opponent too much space outside the box. So that's why 3 depth's the way to go. Offensive style balanced. The reason why we've not gone with possession is because when people are losing now, they use team press. So it makes no sense to have possession, because A, you're just going to get a bit more secluded, and B, you don't want long ball because you want players to be running forward. If you're outside the box, you don't want your cam be running or making darting runs forward. You want everyone to maintain the position, especially if you're trying to waste time, as I said, outside your opponent's box over here. So you want people to be staying static where they are. And the width we've gone with 4. So the reason why is we don't want it to be too narrow. So again, imagine we're almost wasting time outside our opponent's box. We want this triangle in place next to our 2 CDMs. So we've got these extended triangles. But the most important thing is we don't, at any circumstance, want these players to be too narrow. Because if they're too narrow, if your opponent's team pressing you, you're going to be restricted into the zone. So what we want to do is we want a 4 width, so we're still occupying the wide areas, but we're acting as a deterrent. So outside the box, we can still pass the ball around, and sometimes your wide cam will go down here. So that's the reason why we put it on 4. Players in the box on 1. As I said, if your opponent is parking a bus here, and he's camping in this area, there's no need to have anyone in the box. Why do you need anyone in the box? All you got to do is just pass around outside the box and let him come press towards you. Remember, if he's parking a bus and he's losing, let him press you. If he makes a mistake, then you're in a position with your width of 4 to exploit him. So that's the reason why we've gone with 1 player in a box. Corners of free kicks 1, of course, we don't get counted. This is where it kind of gets a bit complicated, but I'll try there's no editing in this one, but I'll try my best to explain it as best as I can. So, back 4, all on stay back. One of my CDMs on drop between defenders. Now why? When I'm defending, I want my back to be like this. And I want 1 center mid, and then I want, let's say for example, the 4-2-3-1, I want it to be like this. Now why? Let's say that's my opponent's box over here, the yellow bit. If I want to waste time, I want to pass the ball around, and I also want to pass the ball. Now people don't realize this. When you use drop between defenders, your left back and right back, they just move up ever so slightly. So they move kind of like up, they move like up over here. The reason why they move up here is because the left back and right back, they move, left center back, right center back, they move up. And then, for example, the guy drops in the middle. So you have like the extended back line of 5. So the whole idea is, number 1, you've got 5 defenders. Number 2, you have these left back, right backs as kind of outlets so you can waste the ball and pass the ball, waste time and pass the ball to them if your opponent's parking a bus. And C, should I say, you have that stability. You still have that 1 CDM in midfield, and I'll get on to that in a second. We have all 3 players come back in defense. Now, this meant to be on comeback. I don't know why that's on a strong ban. That's meant to be on comeback in defense. All 3 players are come back in defense. All of them on stead edge of the box as well. Remember I said we don't want to get inside the box. And the same thing with the striker. Now, striker, we have him on stay central because you always want to be in the middle. You always want a striker to occupy your opponent's back 4. We have him come back in defense as well. But we have him on false 9. So when you're outside your opponent's box, he will come back and he will help in midfield. So basically, you can pass around the box and your opponent can do nothing about it. If someone parks the bus, it's no point giving him a chance. So let's say, for example, here, going back to this example, let's say your opponent's parking the bus. Let's say he's playing a 4-2-3-1. Let's just say to keep things easy. Now you're gonna have over here. What this means is let's kind of hang on. Let me show you. Let me just put this back. Just focus on a red marker. Ignore this depth. So you're gonna have your back 5. You're gonna have your left back over here. Send up your 3. Remember, one of your CDMs on drop between defenders. So remember, you don't have 2 CDMs. You'll have 1 because one of them's on drop between defenders. Then you're gonna have your cam, your wide cam over here. So we're gonna make this my wide cam, my wide other cam, my central cam, and then my striker. Now the key thing is with Ben Yedder, as I mentioned over here. Ben Yedder, he's on false 9. So what that means is when Ben Yedder's on false 9, he's going to come in midfield and it's going to help in deep. So when your opponent's parking a bus, you're laughing because your opponent can't literally do anything because all you're going to do is you're just going to pass the ball around and he's going to have nothing. The only thing he can do is he can press you. And if he does win the ball back, these guys will kind of go back and you'll kind of create momentarily a back 5. And also the Lamb and the Ram will come back and they will help in case you get doubled up. So that is the reason why we have gone with that formation. As I said, the most important thing is have these players on balance. You don't want, as I say, you don't want the players to be running forward or making runs going forward. Anyway, that's going to be my lineup for the 10k team. The 4-4-2, if I ever need to use it, I would change it in game manually. So remember I said the original 4-3-1 will be here. But if you do want to use the 4-4-2, you can do. So if I found my opponent is using a 4-1-2-1-2 narrow second variation, then I would use a 4-1-2, then I would change to a 4-4-2 second variation. But anyway, that's just my tactics and instructions with a 10k team. We're currently 4-0 right now. I don't know if we're going to play all our games. I'll be honest, we've got so many games to play. But if you do want to tune in, twitch.tv/NealGuides. Ask me anything you want there, and then I'll also give you some tips as well with the formations. But anyway, thank you very much for watching. Take it easy, boys, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace out.